I'm actually going to also, hello and welcome to the Fairy Little Knitting Podcast. I'm Marsha, also known as Fairy Little, and this is my podcast all about knitting. Welcome to all new viewers and subscribers, and welcome back to anybody who has been here before and a previous subscriber. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to be talking to you about some half-finished objects and some works in progress, and also some jibber-jabber at the end. I'm also going to go into a question I had from a viewer. She asked if I could do a video on a specific topic, and I don't think there's enough for putting out a separate video, so I'm going to add that in here, and it's actually going to be right at the beginning, and then we'll get into the knitting. What this lovely viewer asked is if I could do a video about knitting without looking. So, to knit without looking is muscle memory. It's muscle memory and practice. So the thing that I would recommend you do is you cast on something that you don't mind if you make a mistake, whether you're casting on a dishcloth, something small, or you're casting on a hat or something that you can just knit in the round. That's probably where I would start, is knitting something in the round, and then just knit the ribbing like you would normally, knit one, purl one, or however you knit it. And then when you get to the actual knitting part, this is where you're going to practice knitting without looking. So what you do is you watch how you do the stitch and just pay attention to how it feels when you're doing the stitch. Then you look up and you try to knit it without looking at it. And this is where the practice comes in, because you're going to knit one stitch, look at it, see it, make sure you did it right, and then the next time you're going to try 2. And then the next time you'll try 3. And then before you know it, you won't be looking at all, because it's just the muscle memory, but it's also trusting that muscle memory, because you already have the skills. If you've been knitting for a while, you already have the skill to do it. You just have to trust that you can do it, and then practicing. So that is really all there is to it, is just trusting yourself enough to try it and practice on something that you don't care if you make a mistake, and that you might have to pull back a couple times, because what if you don't pull that stitch completely off, or what if you do a yarn over instead of actually making a stitch? Just, you're going to be looking down every couple stitches to start off with, and so you'll start catching those things, and your hands will remember how to do the stitches. So you just have to trust that your hands know what they're doing. So that's that for that part. I want to take a second and thank everybody for their amazing comments and support on the previous episode, episode 77, where I revealed something that I'm going through right now. And if you're interested, go take a look. I'll link that video below, because I'm not going to get into it here, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of the outpouring of love and support I have received, whether below the video, in private messages, or email. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. It's really nice to feel that love and support from this community. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that thank you. I do appreciate all of that. Time to get into the knitting. So on the last episode, you will have seen my fox slaughterhouse. And if you follow me on Instagram, you saw a little photo of some foxes without arms. So now they have arms and they're put together. There's one that I might take off a piece of him and put it back on, just because it's not quite straight. So you can tell my gauge changed as I was knitting them. I was way more relaxed on this one. I should have actually gone down a needle size, probably right from the get-go. That's me. That's not the pattern. I am a loose knitter. I knit continental style, so naturally that's looser, but I do knit a lot, so I'm fairly a loose knitter. Anyway, so I should have gone down a needle size or 2 to get the dense fabric that it calls for. You'll notice the arms are probably the proper gauge. They are nice and dense. His little body is not quite as dense as it should be. That's my fault. Totally my fault. But that's only one of them. So that's the first one. And I actually went in, and this is where the increases are done, is here and along the back here and here. And what I did is I just took some tails and I tightened those stitches there and there. And I'm actually going to go in and tighten the stitches along here as well. So there won't be a big white line across his head from the stuffing. And in the next two, you'll see that that's even tighter. But again, I'm going to be tightening them all up. This is Mr. Fitzwilliam Fox, and the pattern is by Kay Jones. And she is from the Bakery Bear podcast. Her toys are, I do believe, the only toys I've ever knit are by her. They're very easy to follow. They're very fun knits. There's lots of pictures. So it's easy to follow. A lot of piecing though. So I will let you know that the ears are done they're done in the round, and then you duplicate stitch this contrasting color on, and it just is super cute, and they're nice and sturdy little ears. So that's what they look like before you do the duplicate stitch. Super, super cute. So this is the first one. And his little tail. Bloop. This is the next one. So this one's a little bit smaller than the previous one. And you can tell by their little bellies that he's a little bit smaller. So this is the one that I might take some pieces off and redo, because I put his head on crooked, so it looks like his arm is crooked, but it really is, his little head is crooked. And I've tried to re-stitch it so that it would turn it a little bit, but this was the first one I put together, so I just have to re-stitch him so that his head's turned in the right direction, so he's centered properly, because it just he's looking the other way. Also my own error. That's not the pattern, that's me. And this is, he also has little safety eyes and little safety noses. I did end up ordering little safety noses. Both of these are off of Amazon, and they came in packages with multiple sizes. The noses actually didn't come with the backs to the safety noses, so I used the safety eye backs for the little noses. But one thing to consider is that this is for older girls, so I'm not worried about if the nose happened to come off. I don't think it will, because I got it in there really well. But if it happened to come off, I'm not worried about them choking on it, because they're not putting things in their mouths. So that's something to consider as well. And the last one is the smallest. So this one has the densest gauge in the belly. You'll see, you can't see anything through there. I did have to tighten those increased stitches again. You can see a little bit of fluff from when I closed him up, and his little ears, and then the top. He is actually stuffed. His head is stuffed with blue wool, whereas the other ones, but his body's stuffed with the white fluff from. I picked up a bag of stuffing from Walmart. And his body is stuffed with that, but his head is stuffed with wool. I like raw wool, and I usually stuff my stuffies with raw wool, but I ran out, so that was the only thing. So yeah, I just have to tighten up those stitches at the top, but he looks super cute. This one has his little sweater is almost done. It's knit. I have to weave in all the ends. I have to add the little buttons and little pockets. He gets little pockets here, and he needs a scarf. So that's where that is. So the finished object is the bodies are done, but the works in progress are their little clothes. So this is his little clothes. So I'm going to talk about the yarn I used for these guys, for the foxes, and then I'll talk about the yarn that I'm using for their outfits. So the yarn I'm using for the foxes is Cascade Yarns, Venetia worsted, and it's a merino silk. So it's very soft. It's a worsted weight yarn, and it's braided. So it has a bit of a different kind of look to it. I don't know if you can see it's braided. It was in the bag with the fluff, so there's a little bit of fluff hanging off of here, because I had everything together. So it's a braided yarn. So it doesn't unwind or anything when you're using it. It's very nice to knit with. It's very soft, and it makes these guys super squishy and soft to like snuggle with. So That's the yarn I'm using. I've got this, it's like a burnt, like a really burnt orange brown. I can't think of the color off of the top of my head of what the actual color of it is. The color number is 160. So it's just orangey brown, and it is, you guys know what color it is, you can see it. And I also used the natural as well, and so this is the contrasting color, is this nice natural color. And this color is actually it's very creamy. It's not white, it's more of a cream color, and it is so beautiful. I think this would make a beautiful hat or scarf, or like mittens or something, because it's so soft. It would be nice as something like a cowl, probably something that can touch your skin, that you need to touch your skin, just because the silk content is so nice in it. It's so soft. So, but I'm going to keep these to knit future foxes with. So that is what that is going to be for. So that's the bodies. So the body, and then the contrast, all of these little bits are the cream. And oh, and he also gets a pair of socks too, which I forgot to mention. He gets socks. So this sweater that I knit here is knit out of opal sock yarn, and it's just the four ply opal yarn. I didn't realize it called for fingering weight yarn. I was going to originally use the yarn that I used in the girls' sweaters, but that didn't work out because it needed to be a lighter weight yarn. So I picked a color that would match with the color of their sweaters. So this guy is going to have, he's got the white sweater. I haven't decided the color of buttons yet, but he's going to have black pockets. So this will go with the black and white sweater, and then the scarf will probably be black as well. So that's that one. Then the next one I'm doing is a purple one. And a couple of these guys are already named, and they are no longer Misters, but Mrs. or Ms. Foxes. So the next one is going to be wearing this purple one. And again, it's going to have black pockets. So this is the medium size one. I gave each of the girls their fox is based on their birth order. So the smallest goes to the smallest, and the largest is going to the oldest. So this is the little sweater. This one is being knit in Cascade Heritage Silk, and I knit a colorwork sweater with this yarn, so it's just like the last little bit. So I don't have the ball band for this anymore, but I just know what it is because I love this yarn so much. I didn't include it in my granny square blanket that I knit last year because it's really special to me, so I wanted to make sure that it was in something that could stand on its own, kind of thing. Like, all of the yarns in that blanket are special to me, but this is like extra special. And I'm actually using some wooden needles for this, and these needles are Knitter's Pride bamboo with 24 karat gold plated ends here. And it's a 16-inch or 40 centimeter, and it's a 3 millimeter. So that's the packaging that it comes in. I'm enjoying it. It's actually knitting up tighter than it would with a metal needle for me, because I knit tighter with wood or bamboo. The reason I chose these needles was because all of my number 3 needles are in projects. So that's how come I chose these. They're fantastic. I enjoy them a lot. I'm almost done this sweater. If you have never knit a toy, if you like satisfying quick knits, the clothes for toys are amazing. So I would recommend you knit a toy, find a toy, knit a toy, and then knit all of the clothes for it, because I can have a full sweater done in an episode of Downton Abbey. So, and that's what I'm doing right now, is watching Downton Abbey and getting these done, because there's a new Downton Abbey movie coming out in the spring and I want to be all caught up for it. So I'm working towards that. At the same time, I'm knitting a little sweater. So this sweater is almost done. I think I have 2 rows on this sleeve, and then I have, I think it's 4 rows on this sleeve, and then that will be done, and I can weave in the ends, and then I'll find the buttons for it. Very excited. These are super, super cute. The final one I'm going to be knitting is a black one, and I'm using Patton's Croy Sock. And I chose this because, again, it's in the fluff bag. I chose this because Patton's Croy is a little bit heavier than regular sock weight. So even if I'm knitting, the sweaters are coming out a little bit tighter, because it's a plumper yarn, it will actually be large enough for the large fox. So it will help with gauge, as well as this actually matches the hat that I made for this girl. So they're gonna match. And then his little pockets are going to be blue, and I'm going to do his pockets out of the opal, this opal yarn will be the pockets. This is the black I was talking about for the other pockets for the other sweaters as well. So this is going to be pockets on those, and then the whole sweater for this one, and then this one will be the pockets for this one. And then I'll do the scarf out of this. So that is that. I'm so excited about these guys. They are so super, super cute. If you haven't knit a toy, I definitely recommend Kay's toys. They're so adorable. I love them. So that is that for finished objects and works in progress. Bodies are the finished objects and their outfits are the works in progress. So the next time I see you, hopefully they will be fully dressed and you can see them totally finished. Something I wanted to mention on this video as well that I forgot to mention on the last podcast is I watched a video by another podcaster a couple weeks ago that changed my knitting life. I had never heard of, well, I'd heard of this method and I had put it in the back of my mind to look into it. It's Jogless helical knitting. And I saw that Grace from Babbles Traveling Yarn and Babbles Traveling Podcast put up a video, and I just put it in the back of my mind, I do want to watch that. I watched that video and it blew my mind. So if you are interested in learning how to do stripe knitting without jogs, I would definitely recommend that. And how she shows it is a 1x1 stripe, and it is so cool. I love the video. She did a really good job. She explains it very well, and now that's something that I want to try. It's a skill that I want to work on. So I'm really excited to learn that. I just wanted to quickly re-mention that in the last episode as well, I drew for prizes for the Project UFO knit along. And if you participated in that knit along, please check out episode 77 and see if your name was drawn. There's a couple people who have not contacted me yet. I will be sending out, I have not sent out prizes yet, but I will be sending them out later this week. I just have to get down to the post office between working and sleeping. So I have it packaged and it's ready to go. I just have to get the last addresses and I will send that all out at the same time. Thank you so much for joining in that knit along. It was awesome. Some of you might be wondering what I'm wearing. I am wearing the Sorento Shawl, and I designed this after I was at the Sorento retreat, the Okanagan Sorento retreat. It's actually called the Okanagan Knitting Retreat. And it was definitely inspired by attending that retreat, and it's something that I really love. if you're interested in the Okanagan Knitting Retreat, you can look up Okanagan Knitting Retreat. There's a website that you can go and look into. It has gotten quite a bit larger. It's changed hands this year. There's a different lady running it. It's actually Miriam who taught me how to knit lace. Like, that's what this lace is inspired by, is Miriam. And she's taken over the Okanagan Knitting Retreat. Last year was quite large, and it booked fast. Each of the classes booked really fast. We just got the notification of the classes that will be available. This knitting retreat takes place in May, and it is the weekend after May long weekend, I do believe. If you want any more information, you're going to need to check out the website, because I don't have it on hand. So, but I will probably try to post the link to the website below. I'll look into that. And that's happening in May. I'm not going to be teaching there this year. Around that time of the year, I need to, personally, I like to just go and relax. And I think I need to maintain that event as a super relaxing event for me, because it's been so many things for me over the years. And one of the things that has always been for me is just a relaxing kind of healing weekend for me. And I love spending time with all of the ladies there, and I don't like feeling rushed or distracted or like I need to be doing something else. And it's an amazing, amazing retreat. And so this year I am just attending, and I'm really, really looking forward to that, and just being able to go and hang out and do some knitting and just relax for the weekend. If you're interested in the Okanagan Knitting Retreat, because last year it booked up fairly quickly, I would suggest that you go and take a look, see if there's any classes you want to take, and be ready to register. The format's different this year. You get to register for 3 different classes, and they're 3 different 3-hour-long classes. So one day you have 2 different classes, and then the third day or the second day you have your third class. So you get to try out 3 different classes. It's a different format, and I think it's going to be fun and very, very unique. And I think that it's going to whet people's appetites more for learning more, if that makes sense, which is really exciting. I can't wait to see how this format works out, because it's going to be, I know it's going to be great. So I'm so looking forward to it. The next event that's coming up for me after that is Fiberphilia, which takes place in June. It's June 22nd and 23rd, I do believe. That one I will be teaching at. We're ironing out the details right now. After I finished teaching last year, I was chatting with Kathy, who runs Fiberphilia, and just about ideas and that sort of thing. So I was already planning to be coming back to Fiberphilia again. It's another event that I really, really love. I am going to be teaching. I don't know if I'll be teaching one day or 2 days, but it's an event that I can pack up Edith, my trailer, and bring the family with me, and they can go adventure while I'm off teaching, and then we can go off and adventure together after. And it's a lovely time. It has grown so much since it started. It's only been going for, I think, 3 years, 2 or 3 years. And it has grown so much. Last year it took place at the local school, so the classrooms were actually in classrooms. The classes were actually in classrooms, which was really cool. It made it really easy. There was a nice little marketplace, and it was just very, very relaxed. It was just super mellow. It's a very different format to a knitting retreat. It's not like a retreat where you go and you're spending all of your time with everybody. You just go and you take your classes and you go to the market and you do your stuff. And then it's kind of like, I would say it's more akin to Knit City than like a knitting retreat. because you're not staying in the same space and that sort of thing. You're not, yeah, it's different. So, I'm really looking forward to that. We're just going to iron out the details as to what I'm going to teach, which days I'm teaching, that sort of thing. And I'm really looking forward to that as well. I do enjoy teaching because I love to share what I know, and I love to bring somebody else farther along in their knitting journey. So that's it for knitting content, I do believe. I always take a look around after. I'm like, is there anything that's going to tell me I forgot something? Because I usually do forget something. Actually, I started writing things down. It's not I started to. I went back to writing some things down because I do tend to forget something. If I don't write it down, it's gone. And I can repeat to myself 8,000 times before I record to remember a thing, and then I will totally forget while I'm recording. So I'm trying to write things down. Previously, like in the early days, I would write down everything, and then I just felt like it didn't feel as natural for me. So I stopped doing that completely and just let it flow. But then I would, of course, forget things. So actually, there is a little bit more knitting stuff. It's not a thing I'm working on yet. So I am still planning on getting things off of the needles. I still have a bunch of things that need to be finished or frogged. And I'm definitely in line with frogging a bunch of stuff. I'm looking at a bunch of stuff right now that I just want to frog, and even just shoo the yarn out of my life because I just need it to not be there anymore. I want to start fresh. I want everything to be, I just want those finished objects, those works in progress finished and done and moved on. Looking over there right now, I think I have 10 things that need to be finished, and I'm looking over here where you guys can't see. And there's something sitting right in front of me that just needs to be frogged. And so that's going to happen very soon. It might not be today because I want to record the frogging of the thing, and I don't think I have time to do that today. But I'm going to do it. So that's it for the knitting content. So if that's all you were here for, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate every single one of you. And if you are ready to get into some jibber jabber with me, then we will just continue on into jibber jabber. So as far as jibber jabber goes, my life, what's new and exciting? Lots of things are new and exciting. Lots of things are progressing, which is good, in the right direction, which is really good. So, I'm not trying to be cryptic. I want to do a big purge in my house. I haven't done a declutter in probably a year, and maybe even 2. It could be even 2. And at one point I was taking stuff every day and putting it in a bag, and when the bag was full, I was taking it out, and it decluttered a ton of stuff. And then I started noticing it. I had been doing that for probably about a year and a half before I could actually feel the difference. But that was a couple years ago. So now I just really want to go through and declutter a bunch of things. I decluttered my knitting room a couple years ago, and patterns and that sort of thing, because I had a whole bunch of patterns that I'd printed off that I never did anything with. So what I did is I took all the single patterns that I'd printed off and I recycled all of those. And the ones that I had printed off multiple times because I'd forgotten that I'd printed them off, I kept one copy of that because obviously it's something that I really want to knit. And then I recycled the rest of them. So I have a much smaller amount of print off copies of patterns that I do want to get to. But I want to go through my clothes. I've done the KonMari method but I never finished it. Like I started, and I really enjoy living with less clutter. I struggle with that so much, though. It's something I personally struggle with. Papers is the worst for me because I like to see what is coming next. And so if I have the paper version, it feels more real to me than having it on a device. But I'm trying to implement both of those things. So I keep a notebook that this one was actually a gift from Sue, who's Crafty Knitter 7 from the Tangled Skein podcast. She sent this to me. And so I've been keeping this notebook so that when I think of things, I can write them in. And this is specific to the podcast. So I've got all of my goals and that stuff in here. So I've got this book that I keep with me, so if I have any ideas, I can just write that down. I have a planner that I try to write in what's happening, and then I have my apps on my phone that help keep me organized. I definitely am somebody who needs alarms. I set 2 alarms for every event that I have, because I will completely forget. If somebody says, do you want to go for coffee? I'll be like, yeah, because I absolutely do want to go for coffee. We're like, okay, next Wednesday we'll go for coffee. And I will completely forget if I don't write it down and have 2 alarms set for me to remember to go for coffee. So that's something that I've kind of always known about myself, and now I know why that is about myself, which is very, very interesting as well. So that is getting more organized. It is not a resolution. I want it to be a life change is what I really want. I want that to be a life change that I make. I think it's for the better for everything. I think having everything more organized would be much better. We don't have a messy house. Probably the messiest space in the house is my craft room, I would say. Looking around, I've started pulling out things that are going to be donated, so I have that. And I also, when I want to work on a project, I bring out the yarn and I sit with it for a while. So there's a project that I just finished, and it was a sweater, and it was knit out of this Mad Tosh, and I haven't put it away yet because I might knit our friend a hat. Oh, by the way, he picked his sweater up and he wore it and he loves it. So, and it's got a good weight to it. So he's really, really happy with that. And that's the Skaha sweater that I was knitting. He finally came and picked it up. So he loves it and I'm super happy. He's like, it fits great. And it's kind of that in between, like, everyday sweater and the fancy sweater. It's like just a nice casual sweater, so he really loves it, so I'm super happy with that. The other thing I want to do is I am going to work on getting into better shape. My weight has progressively been getting higher and higher and higher, and it's something that I'm totally comfortable with myself. Like, physically, I'm happy with the body I'm in, and it does amazing things for me, and I'm very blessed. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that is something that I'm going to be working on as well. Something that can help me along with that is my sister, for Christmas, she got me a Fitbit. So I have this, which is really good to know how much I'm walking. It also measures how many stitches I do, because when I knit, that hand does a lot of moving. And so it measures my stitching as steps. And one other interesting thing is I was wearing it while I was recording last week, and my heart rate while I'm recording goes super high, which I didn't realize. And right now it's very high for me. It's at 103 right now, and usually my heart rate is around 70. When I'm resting, it's like a 62, 63, and average is about 70. If I'm active, maybe 80. That I feel like I'm boring you, but which it could be. But right now, just sitting here chatting with you guys, it's 103. So that just shows me that even though I'm just talking to a camera, it still increases my anxiety. we started doing fermented beverages over the holiday season. And my partner's super interested in fermenting things right now, which is very interesting. We have a fermentation station now, which is pretty cool. He started some kombucha for me because that was my request, is that he did that. He also has taught our youngest how to make ginger beer, non-alcoholic ginger beer. So the difference between ginger ale and ginger beer is the non-alcoholic is one is fermented and the other one has the carbonation added to it. So one's fermented, that creates the carbonation, and one has carbonation added to it. So it's a different process. It's a flavor than carbonated, or you create the flavoring and everything, and then you ferment it, and then that creates the science of it, creates the bubbles in it, which is super cool. So she has made 2 different kinds of ginger beer, that non-alcoholic ginger beer. And the first one she made was very sweet. And then the next one she made, she used a different kind of sugar and she let it go a little bit longer, and it was way less sweet and it had a drier flavor, and it was just so nice. And I really, really enjoyed it. So, and my husband, because because they're fermenting, it's living bacteria, so he names all of them. We also have 3 sourdough starters going on as well for sourdough bread. They all have their own names as well. And they have their names written on them, so you know who you're talking to when you decide to go and talk to your fermenting food. It's really cool. So he's looking into a bunch of different other things to ferment, and it's a really cool process. We've always done our own like canning, and we have our own bees, so we jar our own honey and do like make our own candles. And we grow our own food. So we have a big like vegetable garden as well. And then we have chickens, so we have fresh eggs. So we've got like this urban homestead, and the more things that we can do on our own is just like, each of these things is like an extra skill. And Nick really likes to learn new things that can create more independence from the system. So there's that. I think that's it for me for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have lasted this long, you rock, you're amazing. I appreciate every single one of you. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the thumbs up and also that little subscribe button. If you want to be notified when the episode comes out, also click that little bell. I've got lots more content coming. I hope you have an amazing day, an amazing week, amazing month, and amazing planning for the new year. Until next time. Some of you might be wondering what I am wearing. I am wearing the Ska-Ha. No, I'm not. I sound super boring actually, because I don't have a lot going on because I've been working a lot.